Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into Morning JOX here as we get you set for a wild night. Hopefully, will be a wild night of SEC hoops here as we have a jam-packed slate with 14 of the 16 teams going to be in action tonight, including Alabama and Auburn. Alabama, they're going to be on the road, actually a slight underdog going into their matchup tonight. And as we know for Auburn, they have a must-win game coming up against LSU there at home. So a lot to get into today. We're going to talk a little college football as well, get a little bit into the speculatory side of things as we get closer and closer to the season here. But yeah, it's looking forward to a nice night of college hoops tonight. And so we will start off there and kind of let you know what's going on with the full slate of games tonight, as well as the latest bracketology and all of that good stuff going on there. So as I mentioned for you tonight, we are going to have some SEC hoops. 14 of the 16 teams going to be in action for us tonight, and we will kick it off with Alabama because they will be one of the earlier games, and Auburn will be kind of the nightcap for us. So Alabama, they will be visiting Georgia tonight at 5:30. That's when that game is going to tip off, and Georgia opened as a 1.5-point favorite yesterday. At home, actually, over the Crimson Tide. And now you look at it, and I'm looking at Alabama as a 1.5-point favorite. So that line has already moved a little bit going into tonight's game. But Georgia, I mean, they're a good basketball team. I mean, they're 20-9 on the season overall. I know they started off hot at one point for a good chunk of the season. They were actually the only team scoring more points per game than Alabama was. So offensively, very, very impressive what they've been able to do throughout the course of the season. But falling off a little bit here lately in terms of some of their marquee matchups in SEC play. But it's still a Georgia team that took down Arkansas by 14 earlier in the year. Maybe that's not as impressive after what Florida did to them over the weekend, but certainly going to be a difficult matchup nonetheless there for the Alabama Crimson Tide as they will hit the road and travel to Georgia. Looking at what else we have going on around the Southeastern Conference tonight in basketball at 5 o'clock, you're going to have Tennessee and South Carolina. See if Tennessee can obviously bounce back from that loss to Alabama over the weekend. So we'll see what they're able to do there. You've got Missouri and Oklahoma in a game that I think we all know Missouri needs to continue to win to stay in good standing as far as the NCAA tournament goes. Oklahoma, maybe not quite as much.
But you see who's a favorite in that game, don't you?
Oklahoma
At home.
Yeah.
I mean, they knocked off Auburn.
Well, I was about to say we saw what they did at home with Auburn with 2,000 people in attendance last week. So we'll see if they can do that. Pull off another upset tonight against Mizzou. You got Kentucky and Texas A&M. That's going to be a fun one. Both 19-10, so who gets to 20 wins first? But that would certainly be a big win for Bucky there to kind of cap off or get close to capping off his first regular season there with the Aggies. Florida, Mississippi State, that's at 7 o'clock. Vanderbilt, Ole Miss at 8 o'clock. Nothing really too crazy going to go on there, I don't think. I think Vanderbilt and Florida will probably handle their business. And then, as we mentioned, Auburn and LSU tonight in Neville Arena. You can hear it here on JOX, 9 o'clock tip-off. So it's going to be late, and I will just go ahead and let you know that, yes, there is a game before that. So it probably will not tip off until more like 9:15 or 9:30. Just go ahead and get yourself prepared for that. But that'll be your nightcap tonight. Auburn and look, they were double-digit favorite over Ole Miss on Saturday, and it didn't matter, but Auburn is an 8.5-point favorite tonight.
Take that for what it's worth.
Not much right now, unfortunately. I'm just being honest. Unfortunately, it's not worth a whole lot, but we will see if they can get back to their winning ways tonight. And, I mean, you had Stephen Pearl yesterday. He was talking to the media, and he put it – I mean, he said – it's funny because he said this like multiple times now, but before the Ole Miss game, it was, well, if we lose this game, we're not making the tournament. We don't deserve to make the tournament. Well, they lost that game. And so he then followed that up with yesterday going, well, we're still in control of our own destiny. If we win these next two, you're probably in. As a quote, a direct quote from the Auburn basketball coach, which, I mean, technically, yes, I do think that if you were to, I think you probably have to win 3 in a row and have to go and win your first game in Nashville for the SEC tournament in order to really have a chance. But yeah, I mean, it starts tonight. Now, if you lose this game, it's over. It's done. We're not even having the conversation anymore.
Yep.
Barring Auburn somehow winning the SEC tournament in Nashville, which that's not happening. But this, I mean, again, this is a game that you should be able to win. You are a better team on paper. You've been the better team, I guess, really up until the last like 2 weeks or 2 months of the season. And I guess you could argue that Auburn's now one of the worst teams in the conference, or they're playing like it right now. But a lot on the line tonight.
And I think that's the hard part. It's talent for talent. When you compare this roster to a lot of people that are, let's just say the rest of the teams that are at the bottom, you feel like, okay, well, on paper we're okay. But like you said, they're playing like one of the worst teams in the SEC. And who would have thought that, the LSU matchup tonight was going to be, it's swinging on the balance of this is going to help you if you make the NCAA tournament or not. The LSU game. And LSU is not one of the better teams in college basketball, much less the SEC, but it just kind of these last 2 weeks of the season for Auburn it's been really, really stressful, because the things that we could hang our hat on and say, yeah, they should be better than Ole Miss. They should be better than Mississippi State. They should be better than Oklahoma. Because they've knocked off some of the elites of the conference, and it's just such yin and yang, and you don't know really what to expect. Like going into it tonight, my gut's telling me that Auburn, they handle their business at home, but there's also a little bit of part of me that says, would I truly be surprised if we came in here tomorrow and LSU ends up knocking off Auburn? And I think it's no. I don't think anybody would really be surprised.
Yeah, that's kind of the sad reality that Auburn's. I mean, they've played them into that position, and it's they don't no one to blame but themselves at this point. And the fact that you still have an opportunity, I know some people think they're dead in the water. Doesn't matter what happens the next week or week and a half, but I mean, I do think that I think they would still get in if they were able to. First off, if you beat Alabama, you'll then be able to say, look, I know that we've been a disaster for the last month and a half, 2 months, whatever, but you will have wins over Florida, Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, who are very likely to finish as the top 4 teams in the conference.
Yep.
And that's going to be a compelling argument, not to mention, as we've talked about, you have the most compelling win with the win over Florida in Gainesville, but it's just, yeah, it's crazy that you're even in this position just because of how good the strength of schedule was. I mean, think about it like this. At one point, Alabama and Auburn were both 14-7.
Yeah.
And we've seen, obviously, the totally different directions that has gone. Auburn 1-7 in that span, Alabama 8-0 in that span. And, I mean, we're talking about Alabama potentially getting up to a 3 seed now in the NCAA tournament, and we're talking about Auburn not even being in the tournament as it stands if the season were to end today. Because we did tell you yesterday that you had kind of the bracketology and some of the people out there, like I brought up Rocco Miller, he had Auburn on the outside looking in, but Joe Lunardi still had Auburn in the NCAA tournament when we were on the air this time yesterday morning. He then did an updated bracketology on Monday, and Auburn is now the first team out of the tournament. So they were essentially replaced by Ohio State, who upset Purdue on Sunday. And that was the other thing that, kind of getting into it with Auburn is, even if you get back into the first 4 in, or last 4 in kind of situation that they had been in, at least according to Joe Lunardi for the last few days, you're going to have some sort of an upset, you would imagine, in some of these smaller conferences. And, we talked about yesterday on 3-Man Front, like, Miami, Ohio, right? They're undefeated. They're a top 20 team right now in the AP poll. Well, what happens if they lose a game in their conference tournament, and so they don't get the automatic bid? Are you really going to say, well, this team was a top 20 team 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now they lost for the first time all season, and we're going to kick them out of the tournament and put a team like Auburn in ahead of them? I find it hard to believe that they would do that. But I know, Bruce Pearl obviously is an advocate for that. He doesn't believe in Miami, Ohio, but I don't know why we trust anything that he has to say right now involving the Auburn tie. Again, it's crazy to me. It's so many people get mad. I'm like, what do you expect him to say?
Right.
It's just like when you tune into College Game Day and Alabama is playing whoever, do you really expect Nick Saban to pick someone else? Like, I'm sorry, if you're listening to either Bruce Pearl or Nick Saban for unbiased opinions on Auburn basketball or Alabama football,
Yeah, that's not the ideal place.
you're kind of playing yourself, in my opinion. That's just kind of the way that it works there. So, an exciting night coming up, nonetheless, of SEC hoops. So, if you're just now joining us, quick reminder: Alabama plays at Georgia tonight. That's a 5:30 tip, and then Auburn. You'll be able to hear them right here on JOX tonight. They're hosting the LSU Tigers. That's a 9 o'clock tip there. Um, Again, you can hear that here on JOX, and Auburn certainly in a must-win situation. Alabama trying to keep their winning streak alive, extend that out to 9 games, and after this, it'll be the iBob Part 2 on Saturday, and then that will be all she wrote for the regular season, at least here as far as SEC basketball is concerned. But want to talk a little bit projecting forward. We have with Alabama, because they're a lot of people yesterday are, they deserve to be a 3 seed. I can't believe they're still on the 4 seed line. And regardless of if you're a 3 or 4 seed, I think we all agree they're in a pretty good spot now going into the tournament. So my question would be 205-834-9450 if you want to hit the JOX text line. What's the ceiling? How far do we think Alabama can go? Because I'll be honest, until about a month ago, I was very firmly in the boat of let's make a Sweet 16, get out of here, and that's a successful season. I'll take that. I'll be happy with that. I feel like a lot of people's minds might have changed on that one with how they played as of late. So we'll get into that, what we think the ceiling is for Alabama in the NCAA tournament, plus a couple new additions there to the coaching staff for Alabama football that were announced last night. So we'll bring you all that and more here on a Tuesday edition. You're listening to Morning JOX. 6:18 here on your Tuesday morning. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock when we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. And we're getting you ready for a big night of college hoops coming up tonight as Alabama and Georgia going to be doing battle there in Athens at 5:30 tonight. And then you're going to have Auburn hosting LSU and Neville with their NCAA Tournament hopes and dreams firmly on the line. That's going to be a 9 o'clock tip-off here on JOX, but as we all know, it'll be late. So buckle up, get ready for a late night, get an energy drink, whatever, because it will be a late night. But I also know a lot of you maybe have already kind of checked out a little bit and maybe aren't, that compelled to stay up and watch this Auburn basketball team take on LSU because you either don't want to stay up and watch them lose in disappointing fashion, or you just like, oh, they win, I'll wake up, they win, and doesn't really change anything because still got to win on Saturday in the IBOB Part 2. But should be a fun night of hoops around the conference nonetheless. But before we went to break, I posed the question. I said, what do you think the ceiling is for this Alabama basketball team now? Because, you've won 8 games in a row. You just beat Tennessee on the road. You were down 13 at one point. You came back and found a way to win after being down that much in the second half. Granted, Nate Abment was out, so I know some people will, it is what it is, but you got the win nonetheless. But as you march into Nashville and then obviously the NCAA tournament, I just don't. I feel like that expectations maybe changed a little bit because I said, for a while this season, I was, Sweet 16 for Alabama. That would be great. I think that would be a great accomplishment for this team. But they've clearly shown some new life here in the last month and a half in the sense of, I think it's really kind of changed some people's expectations of, man, if they shoot the 3 ball like they have for the last few weeks, who's to say that this isn't a team that could make it back to, an Elite 8 maybe, or heaven forbid, I wouldn't project them to be a Final Four team right now, but depending on the draw you get in March and how that works, you just never really know how that plays out, right? The year they made it to the Final Four and lost to UConn a couple years ago, I don't think any of us looked at that team going into the tournament and said, yeah, that's going to be the team. They're going to do it. They're going to be the first team in Bama history to do it, and somehow they did. So, for me, I think at this point, I really do think like Elite 8 would be a realistic expectation for this basketball team. Again, it's a two-sided coin, right? Because it's like I just said in terms of the draw and how all that works out. And if you get a great draw, you could find yourself maybe making it a game or two more than you normally expected. If you get a bad draw or you have an off night, like, the team that was the number 1 overall seed with Brandon Miller and that crew a couple years ago, and you just ran up against a San Diego State team that I don't think any of us saw coming, and then they ended up going and playing for a national championship, right? And so you just you never know how it's going to work out. It's just that's kind of the crazy part of it all. So for you, Damian, right now, just watching Alabama, what you've seen from them, really the last 8 games, but also taking into account the entire season, of course, because that stuff does still count now. Where are you on this Alabama team getting into the tournament, and how far do you think they could potentially go?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you as far as the draw is concerned. I think their ceiling can be Elite 8 Final Four. I would say their absolute peak is probably Final Four, depending on who's there and how they play out. But I think what Alabama has shown during these past 8 games, 7 or 8 games that they've won straight, is they can win in a lot of different ways. Like they've gone toe to toe with the elites in Arkansas. Took it into double overtime. You got your role players really starting to embrace where they are and how they can impact winning basketball. Like we know what we're going to get from LeBaron Fallon. We know what we get majority of the time with Aiden Holloway. But I think the emergence of Aiden Sherrill, Amari Allen, Latrell Wrightsell really starting to accept their roles and really start to niche out what they can be. The biggest thing for them is if they start hitting shots, they can beat just about anybody. Like because a lot of teams can't just play to that pace. So if they're getting hot from 3, then yeah, they're cooking all the way and potentially could find themselves in the national championship game. But I think the biggest thing is even if they have to slow a game down and get, and be physical, if they've got to, bang down low, we've seen a lot of these guys really start to step up. And I think a lot of it kind of hinges on the defensive side too, because we know offensively what they can do as far as the explosiveness. It's can they limit a lot of the other teams and can they create turnovers when they have situations like that. So I think the style in which Alabama plays can really help them in making a deep run. But also, I think defensively, they can ramp up pressure and cause some turnovers for a lot of teams. Maybe they can sacrifice a little bit of size. Like, I think Michigan right now, to me, is probably the best team. I throw Florida in there as well, what they've been able to do here of late. But I don't think Alabama's just that far away from those guys because of just how the style in which they play. Now, granted, we have seen Florida and Alabama head-to-head, and it didn't go, exactly how we planned it. But I do think that they have a puncher's chance of potentially finding themselves in the Final Four national championship. But I think at the absolute peak, if all things go right, yeah, they could be in the Final Four.
Well, there you have it. Damian says Final Four potentially for Alabama. Callum, he chimes in on the JOX text line, 205-834-9450. He says if they're hot, they could beat anyone, including anyone on the 1 seed line. I think Alabama could actually win the whole thing, but the bracket would have to play out perfectly for them. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's just so hard to project things like that. On top of the fact of, kind of like you said there, and I think this is the interesting part about the SEC tournament, right? Because we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, and it's, winning the SEC tournament's nice. Obviously, it's not a bad thing, but at the end of the day, I think most people would tell you they'd rather make sure their team is 100% rested and healthy for NCAA tournament. If that means, maybe you win 2 games or something in the SEC conference tournament, then you go and get a couple days off. I don't think too many people are upset about that. But I do think, for Alabama in particular, I think if you were to go to Nashville and somehow beat Florida in like a championship game scenario, I think that's the kind of thing that would, for me, that would maybe push you into the Final Four kind of a conversation, because that would be my only reservation right now is you just look at the teams that you would have to. I mean, if you're in a Final Four, I mean, you're very likely going to have to beat some combination of 2 of, Michigan, Duke, Arizona, Florida, Houston, like maybe a Texas Tech gets thrown in there, maybe a Purdue, maybe like Iowa State, like these really, really good teams. You're probably going to have to beat, again, barring some crazy upset that really kind of helps you out along the way. You're probably going to have to beat multiple of those teams to make it to a Final Four. And I guess that's kind of just been, again, you go back the last few years for Alabama in the tournament. Duke was, they were a great team last year, but they're better than you. Like, they're more talented. Like, you got to a point where you kind of hit the wall of, okay, there's that gap still between what these Alabama teams can do and what a team like that can do. UConn, when you made it to the Final Four, right? Like, again, you were, okay, yeah, not necessarily that you didn't belong on the same court with them, but you could tell there's that gap of, oh, this is the difference between a team that can make it to a Final Four and the team that can actually win the entire tournament. So, we'll have to wait and see for Alabama, but I do think now certainly the expectations have only continued to grow for them and what they can do in the NCAA tournament, and rightfully so. When you're on an 8-game winning streak in conference play, you're playing your best basketball at the right time of the year.
Yep.
You seem to be the healthiest that you've been probably all year, at least since the beginning of the year, and all that comes together, and like Nate Oates said yesterday, a direct quote from him: an immature team would come off a road win at Tennessee, look forward to your big rivalry game, and skip the Georgia game. Can you avoid that and continue playing at this kind of a level against 2 unranked opponents to end the regular season with the understanding that all of this is getting you ready for March and what's to come in a couple of weeks? So we'll see. It starts tonight. Got to continue to, keep shooting the basketball at a high level and keep guys healthy. And if they can do that against Georgia, they'll be one step closer to that 3 seed potentially. And we'll see what the bracket may hold then for the Crimson Tide.
So the only thing you're missing right now is Charles Bediako, right?
I think they're doing just fine.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, yes. From a depth standpoint, you would like to have the option if you needed somebody like that. But they seem to be. And
you're a big Noah Williams guy. He's starting to come into his own.
Yeah, he's the worst basketball player I've ever seen in my life.
Don't do him like that, man. But no, he does. He struggles.
And I feel bad, but
he has
it's kind of a joke now because I've said it so many times this year and people keep bringing it up. But Noah, if you're listening, I'm rooting for you. I want you to do better. But good Lord, son. Did you step in molasses before you hit the court? Like, it's painful to watch.
And that's the thing, man, because he has talent. He does. But like I said, every time he touches the basketball, I just feel like he does not know what to do. Like, it's almost like I didn't know I was going to be in this position, but now that we're in this position, and maybe I can figure something out. And it doesn't on occasion.
The best way I could describe it was somebody, I saw a tweet, I think it was during the Mississippi State game last week, and it was Alabama fans, when Noah Williamson takes a shot, are like parents potty training their kids, like and being excited when they go poo-poo in the potty and like cheering for them. Because it's like, oh, come on, buddy. Good job, buddy. You put a good try. This is a grown man that we are paying money to play college basketball. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I ain't mean to get your blood pressure up.
It's all fine. It's fine. It's fine. We'll move on now because we do have some college football talk to get into. Had a lot of fun talking college hoops there and getting you ready for a exciting slate tonight. But have some college football news to get to. We have a couple new additions to the Alabama staff there in Tuscaloosa, and a very interesting article that I saw came out yesterday from Adam Rittenberg going through some of the coaches on the hottest seats in college football. There's 2 SEC coaches involved. I'll let you guess who they are, and we will reveal that next here on JOX. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damian here with you until 7 o'clock, and we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Going to get into some college football conversation here in just a second, but we do want to remind you that flu season is still around, and we want to make your home healthier with Trane's Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those causing virus. It's 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. So go find a dealer near you online today at Trane.com. So I do want to, if you're just now joining us, let you know, I asked the question before the break, and it was, we're about to talk about some coaches on the hot seat in college football, and I said there's 2 SEC coaches that are on this this article that I'm about to read to you, and I just kind of wanted to ponder, and Damian gave me some guesses in the break there, and so we'll get his thoughts in a second, but did have to tell you about the Alabama couple of new hires there on the coaching staff before we get into the hot seat stuff. So you had 2 new announcements made yesterday, and Michael Bradford and Jake Vang. They are both going to be added on as analysts for the Alabama football team this season. So they now have 13 analysts, according to the online directory there for Alabama. So we'll start with Michael Bradford. He's coming over from Baylor. He was supposed to be the quality control coach there this upcoming season. He's previously been a grad assistant at Colorado State and Kansas State. He was at Kansas State the last 2 years, and he mainly worked with the secondary there. And so he's a West Coast guy as well. He's from California, and he now comes over and joins the staff there for the Tide. And then Jake Vang, he was set to be the defensive coordinator, actually, for Central Washington this upcoming season. He was the edge rushers coach at Sac State, everyone's favorite, last year. And he also was at Colorado State in 2023. So you have a little bit of a connection there and more. Again, just guys that are familiar, West Coast guys, Washington guys that have worked together and are probably just more familiar with, again, the way that Kalen DeBoer and his staff like to do things and the way that they like to operate. So nothing too crazy there, but just a little update there for any Alabama people out there that were wondering and had maybe seen those names floating around social media last night. Those are your 2 new analysts for the Alabama Crimson Tide football program coming up this fall. But from coaching hires to potential coaching fires, we go because we got to talk about the hot seat. And Adam Rittenberg, who does a great job for ESPN, you'll hear him across our shows here on JOX fairly regularly. He put out I guess like his tier list almost for college football coaching hot seats. And I told you 2 SEC teams or 2 SEC coaches are listed on this right now. And so Damian, just quickly off the top of your head, if you will tell everyone in the break, you said, oh, it's got to be this guy and this guy. Your 2 guesses off the top of your head, who were they for the 2 SEC coaches?
For one, I had Shane Beamer.
Okay.
And I think I said Eli Drinkwitz was one. And then I said Kalen DeBoer.
Okay. One of those guys is on the list. The other 2 are not.
Huh.
Who will it be? Doug chimes in on the text line. Hot seat, that's got to be the Alabama coach after his first loss this year. He also says it can't be Auburn's coach until around game 8 when the fans turn on him. It is not Alex Golish. I can promise you that. Another texter says Shane Beamer and Josh Heupel. Okay. The Josh Heupel thing is it's interesting. In the sense of, I wouldn't say he's on a hot seat right now, but if things go poorly, I guess I would say Josh Heupel's the most likely to end up in like a Brian Kelly type situation where everyone kind of goes, oh, wait, they fired him?
Right.
Oh, I didn't see that coming. But nonetheless. All right, this text.
You need to remember how bad it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to remember how bad it was before you got there.
What have you done for me lately? We know that's how it works now. And then this text just rolls in. It says Steve Sarkisian and Kalen DeBoer. Okay. All good guesses. All good guesses.
God almighty.
Steve Sarkisian? Absolutely.
The hot seat?
Yeah.
God almighty.
He's got like a $50 million roster. He didn't make the playoff last year. If he doesn't make the playoff this year, he's fired. Absolutely. I'm being serious.
Oh, that's extreme, man.
He has more money than anybody in college football.
True.
He's got Arch Manning. He's got everything.
So you're telling me if they're 9-3,
yes,
and their 3 losses come to like playoff teams,
yeah, because you should be beating those teams by now.
Whew, man, standard is high around here.
Yeah, it is.
Well, yeah, he is at Texas.
That's another conversation. Because he is not. Sarkisian's not on this list. I'll go ahead and we'll rip the Band-Aid off. The coach on the hottest seat right now, I think we all could know who this is. It's Mike Norvell.
Oh, 100%.
I mean,
100%.
Let's be honest. If FSU, wasn't if they were in a different financial situation, his ass would have been gone during the season last year. Like, I mean, let's be honest. He is the beneficiary of he signed a contract that was much too expensive, and Florida State can't pay him off right now. That's the only reason he has a job. It is what it is.
That is true.
After that, in the Big Ten, you would have Luke Fickell.
Understandable.
It's been disappointing.
It has.
And especially what he did at Cincinnati and now Wisconsin. To his credit, or to their credit, they kind of doubled down this year and said, all right, we'll give you more, but like you got to prove it to us. And so obviously if that investment doesn't have a good ROI on it, then I would expect that they would move on from him. Dave Aranda at Baylor.
Yes.
Fair. It seems like a long time ago they were playing Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl, right?
Yeah.
And that was the last time that they were good.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was about four years ago.
It's been a while.
But they did win the Big 12 championship that year in 2021. And then they played Ole Miss in that Sugar Bowl and didn't go well for them. And then you have Mike Locksley at Maryland. That's another one where, okay, the last 2 years, he's gone 4-8 both years. He's only won 2 games in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
The recruiting's gotten better. He got a 5-star quarterback last year. He got a 5-star edge rusher this year. Like, he's gotten some guys from around the Baltimore area that have been good, but it's just not.
Yeah, and that league is so deep. If you're not getting better, you're in the bottom.
Yeah, and I mean,
there's no in between.
They weren't bad, but they weren't great with Talia, and so you've just got
right.
He's had some time, and it's maybe just not quite there. All right, so those are the guys that are essentially, according to Adam Rittenberg, at least, like, they're probably gonna get fired. Like, unless they have a big turnaround this year, they're
cooked.
That's not a big surprise. All right, now we get to the first SEC coach. This is the next tier. This is the we want this to work out tier. And that would be Shane Beamer at South Carolina.
Yeah. But
see, I think for me personally, like if South Carolina goes 7-5 this year, I think that might be enough for him to get another year, potentially.
Right.
Like, I think they would have to either make a bowl game and go like 6-7, lose the bowl game or something, or finish and not make a bowl game for him to get fired.
Yeah,
but I could be wrong.
It's hard too because they're in a very similar. I'd say they're a little step above, but it's tough because we've seen, especially in our lifetimes, like the expectation of South Carolina football. We've seen them in SEC championships before. It's been a while, but we know at the peak what it could potentially look like. But also, man, I don't think you'll find a guy that like loves his job more than Shane Beamer. And speaking of Shane Beamer, he'll be on Mac and Cube today at 9 a.m. as they get ready to open up spring practice. But man, when you have you got Lenore Sellers, you got Dylan Stewart, like you're able to get guys there to kind of keep you competitive, but also
you spend a lot of money on those guys.
Right.
You got to win something.
So, like, what's the realistic ceiling? Almost year-to-year basis for South Carolina. It's almost, 7-8 wins. I'm thinking, okay, like, you're in a good spot. But I think that when what you've seen in Shane Beamer since he's been in South Carolina, like, they've knocked off a top-5 Tennessee team. Like, they've knocked off.
They've beaten really good Clemson teams twice.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's, man, how can we find that consistency game in and game out? Mm-hmm. He's kind of because I do think, you remember when him and Mark Stoops had that issue of culture versus, like whatever it was.
Yeah, I didn't like the videos with him doing the sunglasses and all that stuff. Yeah.
And it's kind of, like, I don't think Shane Beamer's a bad coach. But also, man, I don't know what the ceiling is for what, like if you go away from Shane Beamer, is South Carolina attractive enough job to, like, for somebody to leave the program that they're building and come to South Carolina? I know it's in the SEC, but it's also, where do you cap out at? Like, do you think that you will get better if Shane Beamer were to be fired? Like, they're just in the influx, like, because they're never terrible, but they're also never elite.
Yeah.
So they just find themselves in that same, that they're just stuck. They're just stuck. And I'm not gonna say it's not fair because I do think when coaches they get into this profession, man, you want to succeed, you want to have success, but it's tough, man. It's tough.
I shared this with you in the break, and I, maybe this is mean of me to share this, but I saw this. This was posted on Twitter last night. It was posted by a South Carolina fan site or podcast or something. But it's South Carolina fans that posted this. I'm just going to read you the tweet directly. It says, since January 1st of 2025, South Carolina men's basketball, baseball, and football have combined to play 88 games against power conference competition. Their overall record in those 88 games is 15-73. This means that this loyal fan base has experienced 88 game days and experienced a win only 17% of the time. Their SEC record in that time span is 9-50. So I guess the only good thing going right now for Shane Beamer in that sense is that everyone else is struggling, so it doesn't make the football program stick out quite as much. But clearly, you can tell that there is. I don't think they're going to put up with a lot of this for much longer. I think they're going to be very motivated to go, and if it doesn't work out, go and find somebody that they think can revitalize all three of those programs, because that's
a whole athletic department that's struggling.
It is. But just for again, it's been a rough 13 months.
Yes.
14 months, whatever it is.
That's brutal.
Yeah, that's rough. But anyways, continuing on here quickly, Bill O'Brien, he's also there for Boston College. They won 2 games last year. Yeah, they're pretty bad. He says, and then in his the tier of a coach that would cost a lot of money to get rid of, but you could potentially see, and that would be Lincoln Riley if they don't make the playoff this year or show that they're really close to it. I mean, they're probably the most notable program so far that hasn't made a playoff, just in terms of you think of the history of USC, and they're one of the big brands. And they still haven't found a way to kind of get in to that arena. So I think that's very fair. And then we have the final SEC coach that's mentioned here. And this is just listed as progress is needed. It is not Kalen DeBoer.
Okay.
He is not on this list.
That's good.
It's Jeff Lebby.
Understandable.
And I'll say this. I think they showed progress last year.
100%.
And if they show that again this year, I think he'll be okay. But the reality of it is you've also gone 1-15 in the SEC in 2 years as a head coach. And I like Jeff Lebby. I think, again, I really do think that team made strides last year. And obviously beating Arizona State was huge for them and all that. But you're going to have to win conference games. And I think it's fair for him to be in that list. But at least from what I've seen, they made a jump from year 1 to year 2. I'm excited to see if he can do that again. But I mean, it's a business. It's the world that we live in. And if you're, 3 years into a job and you're, let's say, 2-23 or 3-23, that's going to be a tough sell no matter how much I like you. But I like Jeff Lebby. He seems like a great guy. Got to meet him in Atlanta. Super nice, super personable. Again, I know that doesn't win you football games necessarily. We said that about Sam Pittman, but
that's the hard part, man.
Progress, gotta keep moving the program forward.
Yeah, and they were close in certain situations last year. I mean, you think about it, they took Tennessee to overtime. They took Texas to the absolute wire. They knocked off Arizona State. So you can tell they're making strides. Also, when has he ever had a healthy quarterback for an entire season? Blake Shapen, I mean, in both years that he's been playing, he's had the injury bug. He took Missouri on the road. They were tough. They were competitive. So I'm with you. It's fair. But I do think he's on the other side of – there's an optimistic look for Mississippi State. Not to say that they're going to be, world beaters, but I do think that he has made strides every single year that he's been there the past 2 seasons. It's just – again, their situation was just – I mean, it's brutal. Like there's no other way around it. It's, Coach Leach passes away. They had the defensive coordinator, Zach Arnett.
That was it was a rough situation all around.
And then Jeff Lebby has to come in and try to make something out of nothing. And I think in 2 years he's trending upward, but it's just, man, it's like you said, it's a business. It's a business.
That it certainly is. So there's some of your coaching hot seat tiers for the upcoming season, according to Adam Rittenberg. Just thought that was interesting because I've seen a lot of these coming out, and that was the first one I've seen, honestly, that didn't have Kalen DeBoer's name mentioned on there. So we'll dive a little bit into that, get to your text as well. A lot of those coming in at 205-834-9450 as we put a bow on the Tuesday edition of Morning Jocks.
6:52 here on Morning Jocks. Damien and Conrad here with you for a few more minutes as we get you set for McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Let me tell you about our friends at Hometown Roofing and Restorations. Trust the experts for your roofing needs. Over 1,200 roofers in the Birmingham area. Make sure you call someone you can trust. Hometown Roofers is family-owned, grounded in faith, and community-oriented. Their customer satisfaction focused with your needs in mind so you can count on honest communication. Listen, guys, the goal is to get it right the first time. If it's an insurance claim, call Hometown. They'll take the ball for you. So you don't have to worry about the red tape back and forth with the insurance company. Only top quality materials. Hometown is certified with 2 of the best national brands of shingle, and they offer lifetime material warranties. Financing is also available. Wonder if you have an aging roof or roof damage. Hometown offers free inspections. Rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. Hometown Roofing and Restorations can also handle siding, windows, gutters, and minor remodels. Give them a call at 205-984-4777 or visit their website, htroofers.com. Again, that number is 205-984-4777 or htroofers.com. Hometown Roofing and Restorations. Do it right the first time.
And as we wind down here on the Tuesday edition of the show, we appreciate all of you joining us on the JOX text line as we have talked a lot today about college basketball, getting you ready for tonight, and then some coaching hot seat rankings, according to Adam Rittenberg from ESPN, and Kalen DeBoer not being included on that list. But before we get to your text here, just a reminder, tonight, 5:30, you've got Alabama at Georgia there in Athens. That'll be on ESPN News. And then the late game tonight, 9 o'clock, maybe a little later, but right now scheduled for 9 o'clock, Auburn hosting LSU right here on JOX. Pre-game, post-game, all that good stuff. And, of course, we'll have full reaction to it tomorrow and implications for the NCAA tournament, all that good stuff, when we return tomorrow at 6. But let's get to some of your text here before we hand you over to Mac and Cube. So this one says, I know he's obviously not on the hot seat, but Lane and LSU need to deliver quickly with all the hype and the feathers that he ruffled at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And the money he's spending on the roster. It's immediate.
I also agree with that. Let's see. Heath chimes in. He says, well, for South Carolina, he says, well, they're just a women's basketball school. Well, they were very good at that.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
Yeah. See if Dawn Staley can coach them football.
Coach the men's team while she's at it. Let's see. This says, since 1985, only 5 college basketball teams have gone undefeated in the regular season. Do you think Miami, Ohio, at 29-0 should go to the tournament regardless of them winning their conference or not? Absolutely. And the argument I made is they're a top 20 team right now in the AP poll. So there are dozens of people that cover the sport of basketball that say they are worthy of being a top 20 team. If you stumble in your conference tournament, don't try to convince me that they're now suddenly the 70th best team.
Yeah, right.
They absolutely deserve to be in there, in my opinion. This one says, DeBoer isn't on the hot seat, but we made sure that he saw the pilot light come on. Okay. I like that. Lewis says, man, I thought Mike Loxley got fired. You are not the first person that has said that here recently, so that's funny. All right, well, we appreciate you all chiming in. We'll be back with you tomorrow at 6. Mac and Cube, they're coming up next.